In 1954, a longshoreman working the docks of New Orleans was 61 years old and could still walk up a gangplank with a 100-pound sack of coffee on his shoulder without changing his breathing. He had never once seen the inside of a gym. He had never lifted a weight for the sake of lifting it, never counted a calorie, never run a mile that was not on his way to somewhere. He was lean and hard, the way a length of hickory is hard, not built, but seasoned, by a life that asked his body for something real every single day. What he had was not a workout. It was a whole way of living inside a body. And the one thing underneath all of it, the plainest reason these men stayed lean and strong, is number one on this list. He was not rare. In every black neighborhood in the country, there were men exactly like him. The dockhand, the mill worker, the porter, the man with a garden and a toolbox. Men who stayed lean and powerful into old age and never thought about their bodies at all. It was never a fitness plan. It was simply the shape a working life carved into a man. And in that world, a strong and dependable body was also survival. The thing that got hired, that fed a family, that could not afford to break down. They never called any of it exercise. They just called it living. We inherited the wanting to be lean and strong, and none of the life that used to make men so. And we sit more, move less, and wonder where it all went. Number 22 was something nearly every one of these men did for hours a day without once thinking of it as effort. Number 9 is the exact opposite of how we approach our bodies now, and it was the whole reason theirs lasted. And number 3, the thing that longshoreman's whole strength was built on, the reason a man could work hard past 60 and never fall apart, is where this list ends. Number 1. These were never about vanity or chasing a look in a mirror. They were about a body that could do a hard day's work and be counted on, in a world where a black man's living depended on his back and his hands not failing him. The world changed shape, the work went out of daily life, and we mistook the ease for progress. We are turning the sound back up. Every one of these, that longshoreman lived without ever naming it. Hit that subscribe button, and let us count down how black men stayed lean and strong in the 1950s without a single gym. Number 25, the mile before the work. You walked to the job, walked home, walked to church, walked to the store, walked a woman home, and walked back. Miles a day, every day, and never called it exercise. The longshoreman walked 2 miles to the hiring hall before he ever lifted a sack. Cornelius Pate walked the whole length of the Hill District in Pittsburgh a dozen times a day and thought nothing of it. A car was a luxury most did not have, and the going without kept a body lean for a lifetime. They did not go for walks. Their whole life was one. Number 24. The work was the workout. The job itself did the training. You lifted, hauled, carried, climbed, and dug all day, with your body as the only machine. The longshoreman's back and shoulders were built by 10,000 sacks, not by a barbell picked up on purpose. Elias Ford came out of the steel mills of the Hill District harder at 50 than most men are at 25. The labor that wore some men down built others up, and the ones who paced themselves got strong on the clock. The work paid him twice, in wages and in the body it gave him. Number 23. Iron in the hands. Nothing was automatic, so your hands and forearms worked all day, wringing, gripping, twisting, hammering, cranking. You opened, carried, built, and fixed with grip alone, and it made your hands like iron. Booker Cade could crack a walnut in the crook of his elbow in Overtown, Miami, from a lifetime of gripping tools. The strength ran clear to the fingertips because everything a man touched asked something of them. Soft hands were rare then. The world would not allow them. Number 22. On his feet, whistle to whistle. For hours on end, you stood, moved, and worked upright, never once sitting from the morning whistle to the evening one. The longshoreman was on his feet 9 hours before he walked home to stand at a workbench. Roosevelt Meade stood the whole shift at a Jackson Ward loading dock in Richmond and never thought of it as anything. All day standing and moving, with not a single hour folded into a chair, kept the middle lean. They did not sit for a living. Almost no one did. Number 21. Carried by hand. Before every load rode on a cart or a machine, you carried it, the coal, the ice, the lumber, the water, the trunk. The longshoreman carried up a plank what would take 3 men and a forklift today. Garrett Hale carried blocks of ice up 4 flights in the black bottom of Detroit for a living. The carrying built a back, a grip, and a set of legs no machine in any gym has ever quite matched. The weight was real, and so was the strength it left behind.
Before we go on, I made something special for you. A guide for men who still believe a good name and quiet dignity carry weight, the way our fathers and grandfathers did. It's the Black Gentleman's Code, the forgotten rules black men once lived by. But this knowledge is disappearing, and once it's gone for good. So don't spend another year being the man people overlook. Scan the QR code on your screen or click the link below. Go ahead, I'll be right here waiting.
Number 20. Grown, not bought. You ate food that came from a garden, a stove, and a cook's own 2 hands, greens, beans, cornbread, whatever was in season, made from scratch. The longshoreman's wife put up vegetables from a backlot garden all summer, and Wilbert Stokes grew half of what his family ate on a plot behind the house in the Fillmore. It was not a diet, and nobody called it clean eating. It was simply the food a working family could afford. Real food, cooked at home, was just what there was. Number 19. Meals, not grazing. There was no grazing all day. You ate at meal times and worked in between, and the long gaps were simply the rhythm of the day, not a plan. The longshoreman ate a real breakfast, worked, ate a real supper, and did not think about food in between. Nathaniel Sykes ate 3 square meals in Detroit and never once snacked because there was nothing to snack on and no time to do it. The body found its own leanness in the plain rhythm of work and rest. Nobody was reaching for something every hour. There was nothing to reach for. Number 18. The deep sleep of a tired man. A body worked that hard did not have to be told to rest. You dropped into deep sleep the moment you were allowed, and rose with the light restored. The longshoreman slept like a stone and woke before the alarm his whole life. Horace Means fell asleep in minutes in the Ville in St. Louis after a shift that had spent every ounce he had. Real work bought real rest, and that deep sleep kept a man as much as the labor did. They earned their sleep, and it repaid them. Number 17. Sunday was for moving. What leisure you had, you spent moving, a ball game in the lot, a long walk after church, dancing till the band quit, fishing, working the garden for the joy of it. The longshoreman played sandlot ball with men half his age on his day off. Julius Ford danced every Saturday night in Greenwood until 2 in the morning. Rest was not sitting still. It was doing something else with the body. The body never fully stopped, even at play. Here is the part worth sitting with, and it is not a fitness tip. It is a whole way of life we traded away without noticing. These men were not lean and strong because they were disciplined about their bodies. They were lean and strong because the life they lived required it, every hour, whether they willed it or not. The walking, the lifting, the standing, the real food eaten because it was what there was. There was no separate hour called exercise because the whole day was exercise. Today we have engineered nearly all of that movement out of ordinary life and sell it back to ourselves one membership at a time, and still cannot replace what a single working day gave a man for free. They did not have more willpower than we do. They had a life that did the work for them. Number 16, a second shift at home. The day did not end at the job. Home meant chopping wood, hauling water and coal, beating rugs, scrubbing floors, fixing what broke, all by hand. The longshoreman split kindling and hauled coal after a full shift on the docks. Theodore Pruitt kept his own house standing with his own 2 hands in Overtown, Miami, and never hired a soul. Housework then was hard physical work, and the home asked as much of the body as the job did. There was no idle hour to be had. Number 15, water and coffee, not sugar. You drank water, coffee, buttermilk, not a river of sweet soda and sugared everything all day. Sweet things were a Sunday treat, not a Tuesday habit, because sugar cost money a working family spent on real food first. Marcus Pendleton drank well water and black coffee his whole life in Bronzeville. The absence of constant sugar kept a man lean without his ever thinking about it. What a man did not drink mattered as much as what he did. Number 14, enough and not much more. Food was not endless. Portions were what a working budget allowed, and you ate to fuel a hard day, not to fill an idle one. The longshoreman ate hearty, but never to excess, because excess was not on the table. Ezra Lamb ate exactly what was set before him in Jackson Ward, Richmond, and there was rarely a second helping to be had. Scarcity was hard, and no one would wish it back, but a working family's ordinary table simply did not build a heavy body. Number 13, slow, steady, and never quit. You worked at a pace you could hold all day, not fast, not frantic, but unbroken, hour after hour, the endurance of a body built to last a shift. The longshoreman never rushed and never stopped, and outlasted every young man who sprinted and burned out. Garfield Poole worked a steady pace on Central Avenue in Los Angeles from sunup to sundown. Stamina like that came from a lifetime of long, unhurried effort. Slow and forever beat fast and finished. Number 12, bent and limber all day. Loading, gardening, scrubbing, reaching, crouching, lifting from the floor, the work bent and stretched you through every range a body has. The longshoreman could still touch the deck with flat palms at 60. Sylvester Boone stayed loose enough to lay brick on his knees all day in Jackson Ward at 55. The constant natural bending kept the joints oiled and the back supple, with no stretching routine ever named. The body stayed limber because it was fully used every day. Number 11, air in the lungs. The work was outside, in the weather, and it made you breathe deep and full for hours. The heart and lungs trained by labor in the open, not a machine in a room. The longshoreman worked in the river wind and the sun his whole life. Ambrose Kittrell worked outdoors on Farish Street in Jackson and had the wind of a man half his age. Fresh air and hard breathing built a set of lungs a treadmill in a stale room has never equaled. The body was made to work outside, and it thanked a man who did. Here is the part of his story we have been circling. That longshoreman did not start as the strongest man on the dock. He started as a boy carrying water to the gangs, watching the old men who could work all day and never break, how they paced themselves, lifted with the legs and never the back alone, ate what fed them and left the rest, and outlasted every young man who came on strong. He watched for years before he was trusted with a real load. And the day an old hand showed him how to shoulder a 100-pound sack so it rode on the bones and not the muscle, the boy understood he was not being taught a trick. He was being handed a whole way of living inside a body, a thing passed man to man on that waterfront going back further than either of them could name. He would work that dock for 40 years the way it had been worked before him. And the one thing the old man taught him first is still coming. It is number 1. Number 10. He never retired from moving. You did not stop being active because you got old. You kept a garden, kept up your house, kept walking, kept working long past the age we now sit down for good. The longshoreman worked the docks past 60 and gardened past 80. Clifton Rhodes was still splitting his own wood at 75 in Greenwood. The body that keeps moving keeps its strength. They did not wind down, they wore out slow, still standing. Number 9. He never once thought about it. Everything today tells us to track, measure, count, and obsess over the body. These men did the exact opposite. They never thought about their bodies at all. And that unself-conscious ease was part of why the bodies worked so well. The longshoreman would have laughed at the idea of monitoring himself. He just lived, and the living kept him lean. Wesley Frame never weighed himself once in Overtown, Miami, and stayed hard as a plank his whole life. The obsession is new. The results were better without it. Number 8. The gang moved as one. The labor was shared, a gang on the dock, a crew in the field, neighbors raising a wall, and the company of other men made hard work lighter and kept a man coming back to it. The longshoreman was one of a gang that moved as one, and the brotherhood of it carried him through days his body alone could not have. Amos Kittredge worked alongside the same men for 30 years in Deep Ellum, Dallas. Hard effort shared was easier to sustain than any solitary grind. The company was half of what kept them going. Number 7. The upright carriage. You stood and moved tall, shoulders back, spine straight. A carriage built by a life of proper lifting and honest work. The longshoreman stood straight as a mast at 60 from a lifetime of shouldering loads the right way. Percy Nolan carried himself like a plumb line down Beale Street in Memphis, no matter how heavy the day. Good posture, then, was not practiced. It was the natural result of a strong back and a body used well. The upright carriage was strength made visible. Number 6. The long table supper. You sat down for meals at a table with family, eaten slow and talked over, never rushed, never standing, never alone from a bag. The longshoreman's supper took an hour, and the slowness of it let a body know when it had had enough. Lorenzo Biggs ate every meal at the family table on U Street in Washington. Eating slow among people let a man finish satisfied on less, with no plan behind it. The table did quietly what no diet has managed since. Number 5. He let the body recover. A man who worked that hard knew in his bones when to ease off, a lighter Sunday, a slow morning, a rest when the body called for it, so the labor built him up instead of grinding him down. The longshoreman knew which days to spend everything and which to hold a little back. Booker Reese paced a hard week, so no single day broke him in Greenwood. The men who lasted longest were the ones who listened to the body. Strength was built in the recovering as much as the working. Number 4. A reason to be strong. These men were not strong for a mirror. They were strong for a purpose, a family to feed, a job that demanded it, people who depended on the body not failing. The longshoreman stayed hard because his children ate on the strength of his back. Aaron Whitlow kept himself strong on a Central Avenue block because his family's whole life rested on it. A body kept strong for a reason outside itself stayed strong in a way vanity never manages. The purpose was the program. The people were the point. Number 3, built in, not added on. This is the thing the longshoreman's whole strength was built on. There was no separate hour of exercise bolted onto a sedentary day because there was no sedentary day. The movement, the lifting, the walking, the real food were woven through every waking hour, from the walk to the haul to the split wood at dusk. The longshoreman never exercised a day in his life and was never once out of shape, because his whole life was the thing we now try to cram into an hour. Harvey Lincoln never set foot in a gym in the Hill District and could outwork any young man alive. You cannot add strength onto an idle life in an hour a day. They did not have to, because the whole life carried it. Number 2, he never stopped his whole life. The strength held because it was never interrupted, no year off, no decade behind a desk, no long, soft stretch where the body forgot what it was for. From boyhood to old age, the body was used every day, without a pause long enough to lose it. The longshoreman worked, moved, and carried from the age of 12 to 80 without a single idle season. Ezekiel Vaughn never once stopped moving in his whole life in Overtown, Miami. A body never allowed to go soft, never had to be built back. Consistency across a lifetime was the whole secret. They simply never quit. Number 1, the life itself kept them strong. The plainest reason on the list, and the one that longshoreman would have named above every other. He was not lean and strong because of anything he did on purpose. He was lean and strong because the ordinary life of a working man in that world, the walking, the lifting, the standing, the real food, the hard rest, the purpose, asked his body for something real every single hour. And a body asked for something real gives it. There was no gym because there was no need for one. The life was the gym, and it never closed. It was the first thing the old hand taught him without a word, just by living it in front of him, and the last thing he passed to the boys who carried water to his gang. Every other thing on this list was really just one piece of that single truth, that a man's body follows the life he lives, and these men lived a life that kept them strong without ever asking them to try. Because here is what they knew that we have paid dearly to forget. Strength was never a thing you did. It was a thing you lived. The life itself kept them strong. That was the whole of it. None of this required a gym, a plan, a coach, or a dollar. It required a life that moved, and that life is the one thing our world has quietly taken from us and sold back in pieces. The men who walked those miles and carried those loads and ate at those tables understood something without ever putting it into words, that the body was made to be used all day for real things, and that a life built around real work and real food and real rest would keep a man strong long after the men who sat still had gone soft. We cannot bring their world back, and much of it was harder than we would ever wish on anyone. But the lesson underneath it is not lost, and it is not complicated. Move through your life the way they moved through theirs, for real reasons, all day long, and the body will do what it did for them. Somewhere an old man is still walking to where he is going, carrying what needs carrying, standing tall at the end of a long day, and staying strong the only way anyone ever really has.